Hello, everybody. My name is Christian. I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show. And let me ask you a question. What's the best part of your story that hasn't been written yet? Let me ask you that again. What is the best part of your story which hasn't been written yet? Because that's for me what we're going to talk about today. Again, my name is Christian. I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show. And I want to talk to you about the art of that second act. How to reinvent after you sell a business or go out of a business or you had success, or what do you do after burnout. If you feel this episode is something you enjoy, please comment below and then also share it with one of your friends who you feel can benefit from it. So with that, let me share a little story with you. Because for me, I have a really good friend who was one of the best medical salespeople in the country. And he always felt that he wanted to do something else. And the something else for him was public speaking. And he knew he needed to take that plunge. And as he did, and by the way, he tells the story better than I do, but as he did, it was really hard for him because he wanted to go out there and be that speaker because he felt that he could give people in a certain way, or he can give of much more of himself if he goes out there and speak. And he did it, and it was really hard for him for the first few years. And he says the turning point for him was his wife came down the stairs with their newborn in their arm, and she said, "Why don't you go back to medical sales?" And when I tell the story, it gives me goosebumps because I know how he's successful, how he became. He is a multiple best, speaker. He does TEDx talks. I think he did 7 now. He's amazing, amazingly good at it. But let me ask you that question. What if you hit that milestone you almost wanted to have? If you sold a company, reached that financial success, but you feel empty, what would you do? Or if you have that burnout, what if you have crashed really hard or climbed really high, or both moments of them? You could really ask, hey, what's next? Have you ever been there? Because I have. And this week, I want to share with you a little bit about that, and then also what we been working on with a client who is 51 years old, sold his company for multiple millions. And he said to me, I'm retired now for 3 weeks and absolutely hate it. I don't know what to do next. So let me ask you a question again. Where you thought that life is a straight line? Because I was taught that life is school, okay? Then you have a job, you have an amazing career, and then you retire. But what I realized is that life is cycles, or acts, if you want to call them. Just like there's a play going on. If you have burnout or if there's major success in your life, both of them can make you feel like this is the end of a story. In reality, they just the close of an act, but it's really hard to get out of it. And for me, this is, one of those things. If you listen to the experts, they say that we change careers 3 to 7 times in a lifetime. Let me know below how often you have changed that, because it's really hard to do that. Because if your name is associated with something you do, it's really hard to get out of it. Or if you listen right now and you feel stuck or you feel broken, know that you're not broken. You're just between those acts we talk about. And there is so much more to come. So, but how do we get out of it? And for me, let me give you a few other examples. Because for me, if you look what did Steve Jobs do after he got fired from Apple, and eventually they hired him back. But he built an amazing company, what makes him what he is today. What did J.K. Rowling do after his failure? Because you need to break down why reinvention is so powerful, and it's simple. Burnout forces really clarity. It strips away what doesn't work. That's for me the best thing around burnout. Or if you have success, because success forces reflection. It shows that what matters beyond the money you make or the recognition you get. Because both moments create that space which builds intentionality. Because the second act isn't about proving yourself, it's about aligning yourself. And for me, that's exactly what we worked on with our client, and that's the stuff I went through. And let me give you 5 things. I know normally I do 3, but let me give you 5 practical roadmaps we worked on and what we worked on with our client and what helped me. And I call the first one, you need to pause. Don't just run into the next big thing. Create that room, because when you are silent or when you sit in silence, you know what? Often silence gives you the answers noise never could. And then for me, the number 2 is audit. Because what, if you write down what drained you in Act 1 and what gave you life, think about it like a balance sheet, okay? Assets versus liability of that past season. What was the thing which lit me up and what burnt me out? What did I get recognized for and I was passionate about and never got to do? Because that for me goes into vision. The next step 3 for me, I call vision. And you need to ask yourself, if I would design my life from scratch right now, what would it look like for you? Let me ask you that again. If you would design your life from scratch, what would it look like? Because, it could be, hey, I want to spend more time with family. I want to spend more time with the people I love. I want more freedom. I want more meaningful impact. What does that look like for you? Because from there, you move then into what we call experiment. Don't leap. That's a prototype. Try new things in a very small way. Because the second act doesn't start with a leap. A lot of the second act start with that simple side project, something you're absolutely passionate about and something you love to do. And then the final thing is for me is commitment. So if you commit, once you align and you feel what you're doing is exactly aligned with who you are, go all in, build the system, set boundaries, and make it sustainable. And because when you leap all in and go all in full in the beginning without doing that little side project, you don't get to build the systems. You don't get to set those boundaries, and it will not be meaningful for you, because that's what we just went through with a client. Because you need to be very honest. The reason we feel or we are in this space after Act 1 and we need to get into Act 2, there's really 3 things. The first one is, hey, what if I fail? Or maybe in Act 1, you failed. Hey, what if I fail again? What if people don't understand what I want to do? Hey, what is when it's too late? The gentleman I just talked about he is 51 and he sold a company and he said, I really don't know what I want to do. I hate sitting at home. He loves passionately teaching kids baseball, and he's amazingly good at it. So I think he needs to do this full time. I'll be working with him on that. Because when you reframe each fear logically, because failure, okay, it's data. It's not identity. Okay, it's data. And people may not get it, but they don't have to, because they don't live your life. And it's never too late. I always look at the example of the gentleman who started KFC. He was in his 60s, because research shows that starting a second act or that second piece of your career in life, a little bit later, that it is a lot more fulfillment for you. And there's an emotional payoff as well. Because real tragedy isn't really failing, it is refusing to try again. And that's where a lot of people are stuck. You need to get up and keep doing it again. Because for me, that second act isn't about reinvention and it's not about reaction. That second act is about you doing what you want to do and do it in a way you want to do it because you learn so much on act one that you can make it very easily as a side project. And then you build your systems, you put in your non negotiables, and then you make it sustainable. So now let me ask you that question. What would Act Two look like for you if you gave yourself permission to start today? And that's my call to action today. What would Act Two of your life look like if you gave yourself permission to start today? Write me in the comments below. What would that look like for you? What would you do? Also, let me know, who did you share this with? Or who do you feel can benefit from hearing that? Because there's one thing I want you to remember from today's conversation. Burnout or success, it doesn't mean you're done. And it doesn't mean you're finished. It means that the next act is waiting. And it could be something absolutely amazing and something you always wanted to do. With that, I want to say thanks for being here today. Thanks for listening in on these Friday chats. Hopefully, you find a lot of value in this because we started doing this now almost 6 months ago, where we said we're doing this every Friday because I want to share with you what I work on in my business, what my employees working on, and what we helping our clients with. And that was exactly what I wanted to share today because there's so many of our clients which are in that second act, third act, fourth act. I've been in this business for so long that for me, it's hard to see when somebody was a chef for 20, 30 years, which is amazingly good in so many things. And they feel because they ran a $20 million kitchen, now they mean nothing to the world. They mean nothing to the economy. They mean nothing to people because they're not being recognized for that. But for me, Act Two, if something amazing happens to you, or for me, Act Two is also something which could be something super amazing for you because you get to do something you love to do. And that's why we started our book course, why we still working with clients. For me, yesterday was probably one of the most, if you want to call it, happy days. Because yesterday, every single client we talked to had some amazing feedback for us and had some amazing feedback on what they're doing on their next act. And for me, I'm proud of them. And for me, it's amazing to see that when people get beyond that, hey, I don't know what to do, or how dare they lay me off, or how dare this, or if he sold, like my friend, a $57 million piece of business and he don't know what to do next. So with that, I want to say thanks for being here. Reach out to me. Let me know what connected you in today's conversation. Where are you at? What act are you at? And if we can help in any way, feel free, reach out to us. And I really appreciate you listening in on this beautiful Friday. With that, I want to say thanks, everybody, and we see you next Friday.